Imagine trying to use the bathroom while wrapped in what can only be described as wearable architecture. You re-ensnared in layer upon layer of fabric enough to house a small family, while your torso is cinched so tightly by a corset that deep breathing feels like a luxury. Now add the pressure of maintaining perfect composure in polite society, where the very mention of bodily functions would send people into a faint. Yet, women of the Victorian era found clever, sometimes shocking ways to handle even the most urgent natural calls. Today, we re-uncovering one of history's strangest and most intriguing secrets. How Victorian women managed their basic bodily needs while dressed like walking sculptures of fashion. The solutions they devised will leave you stunned. But before we step back into a world of hidden chamber pots and clever tricks of modesty, tell me, where in the world are you watching from? Drop a comment below with your city or country. I'd love to know who's joining this journey into the past. It is truly amazing that we can connect across the globe to explore some of the strangest and most captivating mysteries from the past. And if you're enjoying these immersive journeys into history's more curious corners, be sure to hit that subscribe button. There are countless mind-blowing stories still to come. Now, let us travel back in time to an era where using the bathroom was practically a tactical mission, and Victorian women had to master the art of subtlety and strategy just to respond to nature's call. Getting dressed each day was less of a routine and more of a ritual, a battle against fabric and steel. It began with a light linen shift, the base layer that served to protect fine garments from skin contact and sweat. Then came the corset, so tightly laced that many women experienced permanent changes to their rib cages. Next, they added multiple petticoats, sometimes 6 or 7 each one, building the shape and volume expected of a fashionable woman. But the real architectural wonder was the crinoline, a dome-like framework of steel hoops and fabric tapes that gave skirts their iconic bell shape while also making simple tasks, like walking through doors or sitting down, borderline impossible. These garments weren't just fashion statements. They were engineering marvels, sometimes extending up to 6 feet wide. With that much fabric and metal framework in play, even basic tasks like sitting or walking through a doorway became exercises in strategic planning and careful choreography. In fact, some homes had to commission custom furniture just to accommodate the sheer scale of a woman's silhouette. Living inside this movable fortress of fashion meant Victorian women had to rethink every aspect of daily life, including the most personal ones. Hygiene and bathroom needs weren't just private matters. They became intricate rituals requiring timing, discretion, and more than a little ingenuity. Enter the chamber pot, the unsung hero of Victorian domestic life. But these weren't crude containers tucked under beds. They were carefully crafted tools, tailored to meet the challenges of navigating layers of crinoline, petticoats, and corsets. Many were oval in shape, with a gently curved interior to fit snugly beneath the layers of fabric without disrupting the elaborate structure of a woman's attire. In more affluent homes, chamber pots were hidden inside fine furniture, disguised as stools, cabinets, or even decorative pieces. The high-end versions came with tightly sealed lids, not just for controlling odors, but to signal to servants whether they needed to be discreetly emptied or left untouched. Chairs were crafted with hidden compartments. Decorative cabinets were designed to disguise chamber pots, and finely carved commodes concealed their true function beneath layers of elegant design. These bathroom essentials were woven seamlessly into the decor of wealthy homes, blending practicality with refinement. Meanwhile, servants moved quietly through the hallways like ghosts in livery, discreetly checking, emptying, and maintaining the household's hidden hygiene systems. The actual process of using these concealed conveniences required precision and teamwork. A Victorian lady couldn't just lift her skirts. Her outfit might weigh over 20 pounds, with layers of fabric, steel hoops, and lace all working together to form the signature silhouette of the era. Instead, She had to perfect a technique that was equal parts ballet, engineering, and social etiquette. The specially shaped oval chamber pot was positioned beneath the skirts, and through a careful combination of subtle movement and strategic fabric manipulation, a woman could relieve herself without removing a single layer of clothing. It was a skill passed down through practice and observation, and it had to be executed flawlessly, especially in public settings. At high society gatherings, this ritual became even more refined. Grand ballrooms and stately mansions often featured retiring rooms, private lounges exclusively for women to retreat to, with assistance from trusted maids. These spaces allowed Victorian ladies to address their needs with grace, discretion, and a touch of luxury, even in the middle of glittering formal events. These specialized rooms were staffed with highly trained maids, functioning almost like a Victorian-era pit crew. Their job? To expertly manage the complex architecture of skirts, corsets, and petticoats, positioning the chamber pot precisely, assisting with the delicate process, and ensuring everything was cleaned and restored with complete discretion. All of this had to be done so gracefully that no one at the event even noticed a lady had briefly disappeared. These women became true artists of elegance under pressure, maintaining perfect composure while managing one of the most logistically challenging outfits in fashion history. But here's where the story takes an unexpected and frankly shocking turn. For a significant part of Victorian era, many women didn't wear what we would now consider underwear. Yes, you read that right. The sheer volume of layers, petticoats, crinolines, hoop skirts was considered sufficient for coverage and modesty. In fact, traditional undergarments were often viewed as unnecessary or even impractical beneath such elaborate clothing. That is, until the crinoline disasters started happening. Picture this: a well-dressed lady walking down a bustling London street. Suddenly, a sharp gust of wind catches her 6-foot-wide skirt and flips the entire structure upward, like an umbrella turning inside out. With no undergarments beneath, and an entire street full of stunned onlookers, what was once fashionable elegance quickly became a full-blown public scandal. These awkward and often scandalous wardrobe malfunctions became so frequent that even the most conservative circles had to admit additional coverage might be necessary. The answer? A quietly revolutionary innovation in women's undergarments: the split-crotch drawers. Unlike modern underwear, these were not fully enclosed. They featured 2 separate pant legs connected only at the waistband, leaving a strategically placed opening in the middle. The brilliance of this design was its practicality. It provided the appearance of modesty while allowing women to discreetly use the restroom without removing a single layer of their elaborate clothing. But bathroom logistics in the Victorian era went far beyond fashion design. Let's talk about cleaning supplies. Toilet paper, as we know it today, didn't become widely available until the very end of the Victorian period. Until then, people used whatever was on hand: newspaper pages, mail-order catalogs, corn cobs, leaves, or, for the more affluent, reusable linen cloths that could be laundered after use. In wealthier households, these soft linen wipes were considered a mark of hygiene and status. These cloths could be washed alongside other household linens and, for those who could afford them, offered a more comfortable and hygienic option than the rough alternatives. But even these reusable materials required careful upkeep by household staff, adding to the hidden labor that sustained Victorian domestic life. Then came the monthly ordeal that complicated everything further: menstruation. Victorian women managed their periods with homemade cloth pads and an ingenious, if cumbersome, solution known as the tea bandage. This was essentially a belt-like apparatus designed to hold absorbent materials in place. These materials varied widely depending on what was accessible: cotton scraps, soft rags, moss, sheep's wool, or any naturally absorbent fabric that could be secured underneath layers of petticoats and crinolines. On heavy flow days, women might need to change these pads as often as 12 to 20 times a day, a daunting task under such restrictive clothing, and typically done without help, in absolute silence. Society as strict standards of propriety made menstruation a subject, so taboo that even close female relatives rarely discussed it aloud. Women were expected to manage it discreetly, without ever betraying discomfort or inconvenience. The effort it took to appear effortlessly graceful was exhausting. And if that wasn't enough, the intensive maintenance required to keep Victorian garments clean only added to the burden, especially when blood, sweat, or natural materials left behind stains that required scrubbing by hand, often without modern detergents. Those ornate Victorian dresses adorned with yards of fabric, intricate beadwork, and fragile materials weren't exactly built for regular washing. In fact, most households reserve deep cleaning for only 2 times a year, during massive events known as Great Wash Days. Instead of laundering these elaborate garments, they were maintained through brushing, airing, and generous use of powders meant to absorb body oils and mask odors. Keeping the outerwear fresh was an art form in itself. The real hygiene work fell to the undergarments, such as shifts, chemises, and later, split-crotch drawers, which were in direct contact with the skin. These layers were washed much more frequently and served as a vital buffer, protecting the delicate and expensive outer layers from sweat, oils, and stains. In many ways, they were the unsung heroes of Victorian hygiene. Victorian ingenuity also extended to public sanitation, though by today's standards, it might sound horrifying. Inherited from medieval urban planning, the garderobe system involved openings in upper-story buildings that allowed waste to be dumped directly into the streets below. To warn unlucky pedestrians, household staff would shout the phrase, "Garde à l'eau," a French expression meaning watch out for the water. This gave passers-by a few precious seconds to scramble out of the way. If they were quick enough. Chamber pots weren't always just for waste. At various points in history, including during wartime, urine was collected by government agents because it could be processed into saltpeter, a key ingredient in gunpowder. Incredibly, something as personal as waste could become part of fueling a national military campaign. The social norms around bathroom use in the Victorian era were just as fascinating and vastly different from what we expect today. Privacy, as we know it, was a luxury few could afford. It was common for families to use chamber pots in front of one another, and at social gatherings, men might relieve themselves in the garden, hidden only by hedges and flower beds. Yet, despite these challenges, Victorian women upheld an image of elegance and refinement. They developed ingenious systems, discreet techniques, and strict social protocols that allowed them to meet basic human needs while adhering to the unforgiving standards of propriety demanded by their time. In truth, the ability to manage hygiene, modesty, and function all while wrapped in layers of what amounted to wearable architecture is a testament to the resourcefulness and resilience of Victorian women. Their daily lives were a blend of grace and grit, choreographed beneath petticoats and pressed into silence. They crafted solutions that were ingenious, discreet, and surprisingly effective, even if they might seem shocking or humorous to modern eyes. This behind-the-curtain look into Victorian bathroom culture offers profound insight into the era's values, strict social hierarchies, and the extraordinary effort required to preserve appearances while managing life's most basic needs. It's a powerful reminder that, throughout history, people have always adapted, no matter how difficult or absurd their circumstances may have been. Victorian women were quiet pioneers in practical problem-solving, inventing routines and strategies that allowed them to function within a world that often felt designed to make simple necessities overly complex. What is truly remarkable is how these elaborate routines became so normalized that they were treated as just another part of everyday life. Victorian women developed an almost tactical level of precision, meticulously planning their days around their wardrobes and available facilities. They timed their fluid intake, strategized how long they could go without relief, and coordinated with trusted companions to share retiring rooms and maids. Beneath the stiff corsets and towering crinolines lived highly disciplined, clever individuals, navigating a world that demanded elegance at all costs. And they did it all with a quiet dignity that history too often overlooks. The psychological resilience required to uphold dignity amidst these challenges cannot be overstated. Imagine the mental strength it took to attend a formal dinner, engage in witty conversation, dance gracefully, and maintain perfect posture, all while enduring the discomfort of a tightly laced corset and carrying the constant awareness that any urgent bathroom need would trigger a complicated, behind-the-scenes operation. Victorian women created quiet support networks, passing down generations of knowledge like secret codes. Mothers taught daughters the delicate techniques needed to manage layers of garments. Household staff became masters of discretion, knowing how to assist quickly and invisibly. Female friends developed their own silent language gestures, expressions, and cues to communicate private needs during public events, all while maintaining the decorum expected by polite society. The economic ripple effects of these clothing systems were massive. In wealthy households, entire teams of workers were dedicated solely to the upkeep of a woman's wardrobe. Laundresses, ladies' maids, seamstresses each played a specialized role in ensuring that these intricate garments stayed clean, fitted, and wearable. Their labor kept the illusion of effortless elegance alive. The sheer amount of labor required to keep a single Victorian woman properly dressed and presentable was nothing short of astonishing. Maintaining the illusion of effortless grace demanded a small army of helpers. And yet, ironically, these very inconveniences may have sparked unexpected social progress. The complexity of managing such extravagant clothing often confined wealthy women to their homes or carefully managed social circles. But this limitation had an interesting side effect. It led many women to turn inward, focusing on domestic arts, education, literature, and intellectual growth. Some historians suggest that the impracticality of Victorian fashion nudged women toward more reflective and sedentary, yet intellectually stimulating pursuits. The path away from restrictive fashion didn't shift overnight. It took decades of gradual evolution. The growing popularity of cycling among women, for instance, demanded more practical attire. Then, the onset of World War I dramatically altered societal roles. Women entered the workforce, took on public responsibilities, and demanded clothing that matched their newfound mobility and independence. Gigantic crinolines were eventually replaced by bustles, which later gave way to simpler, more functional skirt designs. What might seem today like curious relics of a distant era actually offer profound insight into human adaptability and resilience. Victorian women didn't just endure these systems, they adapted, innovated, and in many ways, transformed their limitations into new opportunities for growth. They didn't merely endure these challenges, they mastered them. Victorian women developed graceful, ingenious solutions to problems that seemed almost insurmountable. They learned to preserve their dignity, protect their health, and uphold their social standing while maneuvering through a world of fashion that often worked against them. But their legacy goes far beyond the logistics of bathroom visits or the complexities of corsetry. These women were pioneers in quiet innovation crafting techniques in discretion, social navigation, and practical problem-solving that would ripple into fashion design, etiquette, and even the evolution of modern sanitation and plumbing. Their experiences laid the groundwork for a societal shift, driving the demand for more practical clothing and better public health systems. So the next time you effortlessly use a modern restroom, throw on a pair of sweatpants, or manage personal care without a second thought, pause to appreciate the long, complex journey it took to get here. Behind the ease of modern life stands a generation of women who navigated their world with poise, precision, and quiet determination, helping build the very foundation of the comfort and freedom we now enjoy. This story is a powerful reminder that some of humanity's most clever innovations arise from the most unlikely circumstances. When faced with layers of discomfort and restriction, Victorian women responded not with complaint, but with creativity. They turned daily necessity into graceful ritual designing systems so intricate and discreet that they preserved poise and dignity in the face of near impossible logistics. And that's the remarkable, often overlooked tale of how Victorian women navigated one of life's most fundamental needs while dressed as if they stepped out of a portrait. It's a testament to resilience, resourcefulness, and the enduring human drive to maintain grace, no matter the challenge. So, what did you think of this glimpse into the hidden realities of Victorian life? Were you as surprised as I was by the ingenuity behind these elaborate routines? I'd love to hear your reactions. Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let me know where in the world you're rewatching from. If this journey into the strange and fascinating corners of history intrigued you, make sure to subscribe. We have so many more untold stories waiting just beneath the surface. From ancient beauty rituals that might surprise you to medieval eating habits that could completely change the way you view your next meal. We're always diving into the strange, surprising, and deeply human details of everyday life throughout history. Thanks for joining me on this journey through time. I hope you found it as eye-opening as I did. Be sure to stick around, because in the next video, we'll unravel another fascinating historical mystery. One that just might make you rethink everything you thought you knew about the past.